Hi guys, it's me. Yeah, I'm rubbing my eye. The Inquisitive Gemini. And I am back to talk about, I guess, my journey from religion to spirituality and some choices that I have made along the way and some things that have really, helped and stuff like that. Now, this this channel is not meant to give any advice. It's kind of like my open diary. It's kind of like my outlet, giving, just finding someone to talk to, even though I'm talking to my camera. Yeah. But anywho, sometimes when you're on a path, on a spiritual path, sometimes you don't have anybody to talk to that understands or who really cares, and that's fine. I just need to, get some stuff off my chest. So go ahead and grab you some tea or some water or whatever, because this is going to be a pretty lengthy video. Okay, so let's talk about my journey from religion to spirituality. So, growing up, I come from a very, very Christian family, Church of God in Christ. If y'all know anything about Church of God in Christ, it is a form of Pentecostal. It's a branch of Pentecostal. And so, growing up, I had a healthy fear of God, but I also had a healthy respect for, God, a healthy respect for Jesus. I always feared the Jehovah aspect. I was cool with the Holy Spirit and cool with Jesus, but I was always afraid of Jehovah aspect. I just felt like he was just a terrible personification of what a God was. And I was like, how could a God who's creating say that he loves people, but he's smiting them to hell for the rest of eternity? Not for the rest of their life. And yes, I'm about to light a match because I fidget a lot. But I'm lighting a candle, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm just scatterbrained. But how could this God who creates everyone and gives them personalities and knows who you're supposed to be, who you're gonna be, who he created you for, and when you do those things that he created you for, or you don't do it the way that he wants you to do, or whatever, you're gonna burn for eternity. Not you're gonna burn and die, you're gonna burn for eternity. And so I was always afraid of God. Now, any of you, about Church of God in Christ and the Pentecostal, you know that they take the Bible pretty seriously. And church isn't just, go to church, say a few hymns, go listen to the pastor preach a sermon from the Bible. It is a whole production. And yeah, so that's how I was raised. I'm talking about, we were in church all day. We used to go to other churches, and then we'd have church at home. Tent revivals, prophets would come to the church, and those gifts also run in my family. I have aunts that are very intuitive, and I used to always say, if you watch my video, like my other video, I Want to Be a Witch, then you'll hear me say that if we weren't Christian, we would probably be witches, because that's how strong the gifts were. Now, I've always been a spiritual person. I've always been kind of like, where do I fit in here? And I used to always have like this thing to where I don't think I belong on this planet. I didn't fit in. I felt like I wasn't attached to my body and stuff like that. But anywho, so I remember being in high school and I got injured. I was a power lifter, y'all. I'm real strong. I got these big old arms. But anywho, I remember getting injured, and I had a big powerlifting meet coming up, and I was still hurting. And I remember saying to God that if you make it to where I can win my state championship, I will give my life to you. And so I took that vow seriously, and I ended up winning state that year, getting a scholarship, breaking my own records, setting the new records, and I took my word seriously, and so that's what I did. And so as I went through, church, I opened my heart to Jesus. He became my deity. That's how I understand it now. At that time, I was just opening my heart to God. And so, Yeah, so I began to develop this relationship with God. I would stand at my window when I went to Stephen F. Austin. I would look out my window and I would just pray for people. I could feel people. I didn't know at the time that I was an empath, but I could feel people. I could feel things that they were going through. And I would sit and I would be like, that person's hurting. I would pray to God heal their hurt or their pain. And, I started attracting people to me, and they would come and I would, kind of help them out through their problem, and then they would just leave out of my life. And I would go to church on Sunday. I've had a hard week. Let's see if there's going to be something that, the pastor has for me. And the only thing that I noticed was everyone was pretty much worshiping the pastor and giving all their money to the pastor. And all he preached was blessings. And if you sow, you will receive. And so people are giving all this money. And it got to the point to where I was like, ugh, I don't think this is what my life is supposed to be like. So I kind of retreated from the church because I didn't feel like I was growing spiritually. I felt like, we were kind of going in, we were doing all this stuff, trying to, get blessings. And it's like, that's not what I wanted. And so I kind of retreated from the church, and I just didn't do anything for a few years. And I went through a depression. I was making bad choices. I was inviting people into my life who really didn't need to be in there. And, I was suffering the consequences of me inviting those types of people into my life, and different things that I was attracting because of, some issues that I had with myself. And so what really kind of opened me up to a different spirituality was I was watching Valerie June. She's a singer, and she was doing her tarot cards, and she was doing yoga, and she was out in nature. And if you know anything about me, I love trees. I'm an earth girl. I love to be out in nature. And she was doing all the things that I was like, oh my God, that looks so peaceful. I think I want to do that. And she said something. Here I am hating the world. I'm in a depression. And she said, I don't necessarily think the world's a bad place. And I was like, yes, it is. It's horrible. And she says, you create your own space. You create your own reality. And I watched that video like a bunch of times because I just felt something clicking. And then it clicked. I'm not creating my own space. I'm not creating my own reality. And so, from there, I went down the rabbit hole. And eventually later on that year, when I came out of the depression, I had a different viewpoint of life. And it got to the point to where I was like, you know what? I don't believe these teachings that I grew up believing. When I decided I didn't believe in hell, I didn't believe in the devil, and I didn't believe in those things, it's like this tremendous burden lifted off of me. I stopped being afraid. And so from there, that's when I left religion. It's like a long story, but that was the beginning of me leaving religion. And so I started to get into meditation. In fact, these are the books that I had gotten when I wanted to know about meditation and stuff. And when I got my book and I started meditating, I realized that, when I used to sit and I used to be like, you know what, Lord, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to be quiet, I'm going to be still, and I'm going to listen for your voice. That I was actually meditating. And so, even though I was in a religion, I still had a spiritual practice. And so I saw things on a spiritual level. Didn't realize I was meditating. And so I never really moved past meditation. I had thought about, doing Buddhism, and I was like, no, that's another structures, another thing that I'll have to, follow these rules. And I just didn't want to do it. And so eventually I kind of pulled away from all spirituality. I still had my gifts. I still had my intuition and everything. It wasn't as strong because I wasn't developing it. And this was when I was 29. I'm 35. But I was watching a video with somebody with their hair, and they were talking about using magic. And then my interest got sparked. And so I started, looking at stuff with magic and stuff like that. And I ran across witchcraft, and I started looking at what witchcraft was and talking and listening to people, new age people, watching all kind of videos, doing a lot of research. And I was like, okay, you know what? That sounds like a path that I want to take. So I want to be a witch. And so I decided, I was looking for information. How do I do this? How do I start? And I ran across some videos, and I decided, I think I want to do Wicca. So I ended up joining the Facebook group. I talked about that, had a horrible experience in that Facebook group, and started, kind of researching on Wicca. And when I started researching Wicca, I was like, it's another religion. I don't want another structure. And, I started looking at different things in groups, and people started talking about different deities, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you have to have this altar, and this is how you have to do this, and this is how you have to do that. If you don't do this, this deity might do this to you, or bad things might happen. And then there we go again with the fear. And I was like, okay, let me just back away from everything. And so I backed away from everything. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't doing anything. And then all of a sudden, started getting anxiety again. And I kept feeling this pull. Kamisha, you have to ground yourself spiritually. And so, I kept feeling the pull toward my tarot cards. And I kept pulling the Fool card. You have to start a journey. It's a journey. I was wanting to get into my spirituality, but then I was afraid, and then it was like, okay, the Fool, spread your wings. It's okay to be afraid, but don't let fear and being overly cautious stop you from making the jump. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to create my own practice. And I started pulling cards that resonated with me starting my own practice. And so meanwhile, trying to figure out how I want to do this practice. What am I going to do? How am I going to pull this together? How do I go from having a set of rules to creating my own practice? And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I kept meditating, and I started reading my books that I bought years ago, Chakras. And I started reading I did a chakra test online. And I started reading up on the root chakra, because I started being like all over the place. Like my ADD got super bad to where like I even wrote it in my journal. I was so all over the place that I was getting on my own fucking nerves. It was like, I think I'm getting Alzheimer's. I can't even hold a memory. Can't hold a thought. If I go in the room to get my socks, I'll come out the room with something else, and my socks will still be in there, and I'll go to the room about 5 times to get my socks, and I still won't have them. Things like that. And so realized my root chakra is way out of balance. So I started doing chakra meditations on my root chakra. I started going to yoga because I felt like that was a place where I could go in and do a practice and become one with my body, and stuff like that. And so going through that and doing things and just listening to my intuition. Okay, I think this is what my body needs. I think this is what my spirit needs. I started to slowly pull some things together. And so I'm looking on YouTube. I like to watch the YouTube pagans because they do some of them impart some things that I like. I take what I like. I leave the rest. And I don't remember which pagan said this, but they were talking about it's on one of the videos when they were talking about, what's her name, Wild Moon Woman going back to Christianity. Good for her. That's what she wants to do. Good for her. But she said that all knowledge is within you. You already know these things. You just sometimes don't remember them. And so when somebody says something to you and it resonates with you, that is your knowledge awakening. She didn't say it in those words, but anyway, she was saying that's you remembering something that you already know. And that clicked with me so hard. And so I started to listen. To really, really listen to my intuition, really, really listen for my guides. And, I started doing meditation where I would ask my spirit guides to come in and help me. And, I started watching different videos, and I take what I like. I leave the rest. One of the people that I really admire on YouTube is Akashic Song. She doesn't tell you what to do or anything like that. She's just pretty much sharing her experience on YouTube, and I just absolutely love her. And when I saw her video, when I first ran into her, she reminded me so much of myself. I could see myself within her, and it's kind of creepy. Yeah, it's kind of creepy. But anywho, just watching her videos and stuff, it just made me realize that I can create my own practice. Another person that I ran across was Pretty Boss TV. I never would have clicked on her. I never would have clicked on her channels. I don't know why I did, but I did, and I love some of the things that she said, and some of the things that she said really resonated with me. Resonated. Did I say that right? Am I saying that right? Probably not. I kind of like, I kind of felt it. I felt it here, and so I took some of those things that she said, and I've began to incorporate some of those things. Kiki Senza has a great channel. She gives a little bit of knowledge, but she doesn't give it all. She kind of gives you like, okay, well, this may be what's going on, or this. I don't know. She requires you to think for yourself. Anything that she says, she might share her experience, but she'll be like, that's some work that you got to do for yourself. And I'm learning that. There's no real answers in books. There's no real answers in anything. There's guidelines, but at the end of the day, you have to pick and choose what sits well within your soul, what sits well within your spirit, that something that you resonate. That's the word I was looking for. Resonate with what resonates with you, and you have to build upon it. And so, like right now, I'm working with deity. I never thought I would work with deity again, ever. You know what I mean? I have a morning ritual that I follow, and I can feel the growth. I can feel the spiritual growth, and so it's not because I'm following a set. This is how it has to be done. If I don't do it this way, things are gonna fall apart. I'm following what feels good to me. What feels good to me. And I just encourage everybody to do that. Whatever feels good to you, that's what you do. And so it may be hard coming from having a set of rules and a set way that you have to do things, to kind of having to create that for yourself. It's kind of scary at first because you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Just do something. Do something that feels good to you, and the rest will come. The rest will come. And so that is it. That is it for my open diary, from religion to spirituality, and my struggles and my experiences. And I hope that all made sense. And check out Akashic Song. Check out Pretty Boss TV. Check out Kiki Senza. Ethany. I watch Ethany. She's a tarot reader. What is my friend's name? Starlight Divine Readings. I think that's the name of her channel. I'm not sure. She does really good tarot readings. Kellyanne Maddox. Different people have different viewpoints, and it's nice to hear different viewpoints, and especially for people who've been practicing for a while, or even people who are brand new. Just hearing somebody else's viewpoint, and that way you can decide, is this something that I like? No, I'm not with that. Yeah, I like that. And so, I'm just rambling right now. So that's all I got to say. Peace, love, and light, y'all.